Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Earlier today, I spent some time with Srila Bhakti Maharaj's disciples and was able to spend an hour and a half with them. I thank them very much for inviting me and allowing me to speak to them, his glories, and to encourage them. We're all going through a grief period that's natural, and grief is a natural thing that has to be. We have to allow the grief period to come through before we resettle our lives and reset our lives without our loved ones, especially our spiritual master. Those of us who have been without Srila Prabhupada's physical presence for now 43 years, we know about this. Yeah. Okay. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so attached to Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. He passed on that attachment to Srila Prabhupada, our dear Srila Prabhupada, and we hope to share this attachment we've gotten with you all. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving a lecture in Munjer, and just as he stood up, this earth tremor caused a mild flooding of the Ganga, which was right next to him. And it came up, but it just came up and then it went back, receded. And just after that he said, in due course, Mahäprabhu, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after it has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. So, we reached the 17th chapter of the Ädi-lilä, the last chapter, by the way. And Lord Chaitanya is exhibiting his pastimes in his youth, and he's in the middle of the Mahaprakash, or sometime about that time. He's beginning his Sankirtan movement. We're beginning with text 77. Lord Chaitanya then praised Murari Gupta, saying, "You have satisfied Lord Krishna." Hearing this, Murari Gupta quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Since I am but a poor, sinful Brahmabandhu, not Brahmanically qualified, although born in a Brahmana family, and you, Lord Krishna, are the shelter of the goddess of fortune, it is simply wonderful, my dear Lord Krishna, that you have embraced me with your arms. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:81-16, spoken by Sudama Vipra in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. This and the previous verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, clearly indicate that although Krishna is so great that it is not possible for anyone to satisfy him, he exhibits his greatness by being personally satisfied even with one so unqualified from so many angles of vision. Sudamavipra was born in a family of Brahmanas, and he was a learned scholar and a class friend of Krishna's. Yet he considered himself unfit to be strictly called a Brahmana. He called himself a Brahmabandhu, meaning one born in a Brahmana family, but not Brahmanically qualified. Because of his great respect for Brahmanas, however, Krishna embraced Sudamavipra, although he was not a regular Brahmana, but a Brahmabandhu, or friend of a Brahmana family. Murari Gupta could not be called even a Brahmabandhu, because he was born of a Vaidya family, and according to the social structure, was therefore considered a Shudra. But Krishna bestowed special mercy upon Murari Gupta because he was a beloved devotee of the Lord, as stated by Sri Caitanya Mahäprabhu. The purport of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's elaborate discussion of this subject is that no qualification in this material world can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Yet everything becomes successful simply through development of devotional service to the Lord. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness cannot even call themselves Brahmabandhus. Therefore, our only means for satisfying Krishna is to pursue the injunctions of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, Yari deka tarhe kaha Krishna upadesh, amara agyaya guru haya taridesh. Whomever you meet, instruct him on the teachings of Krishna. In this way, on my order, become a spiritual master and deliver the people of this country. C.C. Madhya 7:128. Simply trying to follow the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we speak to the people of the world about Bhagavad Gita as it is. This will make us qualified to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 79. One day, the Lord performed Sankirtan with all his devotees, and when they were greatly fatigued, they sat down. The Lord then sowed a mango seed in the yard, and immediately the seed fructified into a tree and began to grow. Text 81. As people looked on, the tree became fully grown, with fruits that fully ripened. Thus everyone was struck with wonder. Text 82. The Lord immediately picked about 200 fruits, and after washing them, he offered them to Krishna to eat. 83. The fruits were all red and yellow, with no seed inside, and no skin outside, and eating one fruit would immediately fill a man's belly. Purport. In India, a mango is considered best when it is red and yellow. Its seed is very small, its skin is very thin, and it is so palatable that if a person eats one fruit, he will be satisfied. The mango is considered the king of all fruits. Text 34. Seeing the quality of the mangoes, the Lord was very greatly satisfied, and thus, after eating first, he fed all the other devotees. Text 85. The fruits had no seeds or skins. They were full of nectarian juice and were so sweet that a man would be fully satisfied by eating only one. Text 86. In this way, fruits grew on the tree every day throughout the 12 months of the year, and the Vaishnavas used to eat them to the Lord's great satisfaction. Text 87. Maha Prasad. These are confidential pastimes of the Lord of Shachi. Other than devotees, no one knows of this incident. Purport. Non-devotees cannot believe this incident, yet the place where the tree grew still exists in Mayapur. It is called Amragata or Amagata. Text 88. In this way the Lord performed Sankirtan every day, and at the end of Sankirtan there was a mango eating festival every day for 12 months. Haribo. Purport. On principle, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would distribute prasadam at the end of kirtan performances. Similarly, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement must distribute some prasadam to the audience after performing kirtan. Text 89. Once, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing kirtan, clouds assembled in the sky, and the Lord, by his own will, immediately stopped them from pouring rain. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that once, when Lord Chaitanya was performing Sankirtan a short way from the village, some clouds appeared overhead. By the supreme will of the Lord, the clouds were asked to disperse, and they did. Because of this incident, that place is still known as Megharachara. Since the course of the Ganges has now changed, the village of the name Belapukuria, which was formerly situated in a different place called Tanaravas, has now become known as Megharachara. The Madhyakanda of Srila Lochan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Mangala also relates that once, at the end of the day, when evening clouds assembled overhead and thundered threateningly, all the devotees were very much afraid. But the Lord took his kartals in his hands and personally began chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, looking up toward the sky, as if to direct the demigods in the higher planets. Thus all the assembled clouds dispersed, and as the sky became clear, with the moon rising, the Lord began dancing very happily with his jubilant and satisfied devotees. Text 90. One day the Lord ordered Srivas Thakur to read the Brihat Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, for he wanted to hear them at that time. Text 91. As he read the 1,000 names of the Lord, in due course the holy name of Lord Nishinga appeared. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the holy name of Lord Nishinga, he became fully absorbed in thought. Purport. The Chaitanya Mangala, Madhyakanda, describes this incident as follows. Srivas Pandit was performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father, and as is customary, he was hearing the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. At that time, Gaurahari, Lord Chaitanya, appeared on the scene, and he also began to hear the 1,000 names of Vishnu with full satisfaction. When he thus heard the holy name of Lord Nishinga, Lord Chaitanya became absorbed in thought, and he became angry, like Nishinga Prabhu, in his angry mood. His eyes became red, his bodily hair stood on end, and all the parts of his body trembled, and he made a thundering sound. All of a sudden, he took up a club, and people became greatly afraid, thinking, "We do not know what kind of offense we have now committed." But then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adjusted his thoughts and sat down on his seat. Text 92. In the mood of Lord Nishinga, Lord Chaitanya ran through the city streets, club in hand, ready to kill all the atheists. Text 93. Seeing him appearing very fierce in the ecstasy of Lord Nishinga, people ran from the street and fled here and there, afraid of his anger. Text 94. Seeing the people so afraid, the Lord came to his external senses and thus returned to the house of Srivas Thakur and threw away the club. 95. The Lord became morose and said to Srivas Thakur, "When I adopted the mood of Lord Nrsinga, people were greatly afraid. Therefore I stopped, since causing fear among people is an offense." Imagine. Oh, what's happening in the world today. Such offense. Text 96. Srivas Thakur replied, "Anyone who takes your holy name vanquishes 10 million of his offenses immediately." Text 97. There was no offense in your appearing as Nrsingadev. Rather, any man who saw you in that mood was immediately liberated from the bondage of material existence. Text 98. After saying this, Srivas Thakur worshipped the Lord, who was then greatly satisfied and returned to his own home. Text 99. On another day, a great devotee of Lord Shiva, chanting of Lord Shiva's qualities, came to Lord Chaitanya's house, where he began dancing in the courtyard and playing his tamuru, a musical instrument. Text 100. Then Lord Chaitanya, adopting the mood of Lord Shiva, got on the man's shoulders, and thus they danced together for a long time. Purport. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adopted the mood of Lord Shiva, for he is Shiva also. According to the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, Lord Shiva is not different from Lord Vishnu. But still, Lord Shiva is not Lord Vishnu. Just as yogurt is nothing but milk, and yet is not milk, nevertheless. One cannot get the benefit of milk by drinking yogurt. Similarly, one cannot get salvation by worshipping Lord Shiva. If one wants salvation, one must worship Lord Vishnu. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Matstani sarvabhutani nachaham te sravastitaha. Everything is resting on the Lord, for everything is His energy. Yet He is not everywhere. Lord Chaitanya's adopting the mood of Lord Shiva is not extraordinary, but one should not therefore think that by worshipping Lord Shiva, one is worshipping Lord Chaitanya. That would be a mistake. Text 101. On another day, a mendicant came to beg alms from the Lord's house. But when he saw the Lord dancing, he also began to dance. Text 102. He danced with the Lord because he was favored by love of Krishna. Thus he flowed in the mellows of love of Godhead. Text 103. On another day, an astrologer came who was said to know everything, past, present, and future. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Purport. Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, and priests. Although highly learned and respectable, such brahmanas went from door to door to distribute their knowledge. A brahmana would first go to a householder's home to give information about the functions to be performed on a particular tithi or date. But if there were sickness in the family members would consult the brahmana as a physician, and the brahmana would give instruction and some medicine. Often, since the brahmanas were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive to know about their past, present, and future. Although the brahmana appeared at Lord Chaitanya's house as a beggar, Lord Chaitanya received him and with great respect, because he was a qualified brahmana who knew the astrological science perfectly. Although brahmanas would go door to door, just like beggars, they were honored as very respectable guests. This was the system in Hindu society 500 years ago, during the time of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This system was current even 100 years ago, even 50 or 60 years ago, when we were children, such brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of such brahmanas. The greatest benefit was that a householder could save a great deal of money from being spent on doctor bills, because the brahmanas, aside from explaining the past, present, and future, could ordinarily cure all kinds of diseases simply by giving instructions and some medicine. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first-class physician. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first-class physician, astrologer, and priest. The important members of ISKCON should give careful attention to our Dallas school, where children are being taught Sanskrit and English to become perfect brahmanas. If they are actually trained as perfect brahmanas, they can save society from rogues and ruffians. Indeed, people can live happily under the protection of qualified brahmanas. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita 4.13 gives special stress to the division of society. Chaturvarnya maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. Unfortunately, some people are now claiming to be brahmanas simply by birthright with no qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. Text 104. Please tell me who I was in my previous birth, the Lord said. Please tell me by your astrological computations. Hearing the words of the Lord, the astrologer immediately began to calculate. Purport. Through astrology one can know past, present, and future. Modern Western astrologers have no knowledge of the past or future, nor can they perfectly say anything about the present. Herein we find, however, that after hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, the astrologer immediately began his calculations. This was not a facade. He actually knew how to ascertain one's past life through astrology. A still existing treatise called the Bhrigu Samhita describes a system by which anyone can immediately get information about what he was in the past and what he was going to be in the future. The brahmanas who went door to door, as if beggars, had perfect command of such vast knowledge. Thus the highest knowledge was easily available even to the poorest man in society. The poorest man could inquire from an astrologer about his past, present, and future with no need for business agreements or exorbitant payments. The brahmana would give him all the benefit of his knowledge without asking remuneration, and the poor man in return would offer a handful of rice or anything he had in his possession to satisfy the brahmana. In a perfect human society, perfect knowledge in any science, medical, astrological, ecclesiastical, and so on, is available even to the poorest man with no anxiety over payment. In the present day, however, no one can get justice, medical treatment, astrological help, or ecclesiastical enlightenment without money. And since people are generally poor, they are bereft of all the benefits of all these great sciences. Text 105. Through calculation and meditation, the all-knowing astrologer saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. Purport. Here we get some information of the Vaikuntha world, or spiritual world. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. In the material world, everyone is full of anxiety. But another world, where there is no anxiety, is described in the Bhagavad Gita 8.20. Parastasmat tu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yak sasarveshu bhutechu nashatsu navinashyati. Yet there is another, unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. As there are many planets within the material world, there are many millions of planets called Vaikuntha-lokas in the spiritual world. All these Vaikuntha-lokas, or superior planets, rest on the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato Jagadanta Koti. The Brahman effulgence emanating from the body of the Supreme Lord creates innumerable planets in both the spiritual and material worlds. Thus these planets are creations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The astrologers saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the very same Personality of Godhead. We can just imagine how learned he was, yet he was traveling door to door, just like an ordinary beggar, for the highest benefit of human society. Text 106. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman, the Personality of Godhead, the astrologer was confused. Purport. Herein it is clearly indicated that the absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman, is in the ultimate issue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore a person is the beginning of all things. Therefore a person is the beginning of all things. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Mattak Sarvam Pravartate. Everything begins from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the supreme living entity. Therefore, whatever exists, whether matter or spirit, is all but an emanation from the Supreme Person or Supreme Life. The modern scientist's theory that life begins from matter is nonsense. Both matter and life begin from life. Unfortunately, the scientists do not know this scientific fact. They are drifting in the darkness of their so-called knowledge. Text 107. Struck with wonder, the astrologer remained silent, unable to speak. But when the Lord again put the question to him, before him, he replied as follows. Text 108. My dear sir, in your previous birth, you were the shelter of all creation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. You are now the same Supreme Personality, the same Personality of Godhead that you were in your previous birth. Your identity is inconceivable, eternal happiness. Purport. By the power of astrological science, one can even ascertain the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is to be identified by its symptoms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is identified by the symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. It is not that anyone and everyone can become God without proof from Shastras. Text 110. When the astrologer was speaking so highly of him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. My dear sir, he said, I think you do not know very clearly what I was, for I know that in my previous birth I was a cowherd boy. Text 111. In my last birth, I was born in the family of cowherd men, and I gave protection to the calves and cows. Because of such pious activities, I have now become the son of a Brahmana. Purport. The words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest authority, herein clearly indicate that one becomes pious simply by keeping cows and protecting them. Unfortunately, people have become such rascals that they do not even care about the words of an authority. People generally consider cowherd men lowly members of society. But herein, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that they are so pious that in their next lives they are going to be brahmanas. The caste system has a specific purpose. If this scientific system is followed, human society will get the greatest benefit. Heeding this instruction by the Lord, people should serve cows and calves, and in return get ample quantities of milk. There is no loss in serving the cows and calves, but modern human society has become so degraded that instead of giving protection to the cows and serving them, people are killing them. How can they expect peace and prosperity in human society while committing such sinful activities? It is impossible. 1 minute. Text 112. The astrologer said, "What I saw in meditation was full of opulence, and therefore I was confused." Purport. It appears that the astrologer not only was a knower of past, present, and future through astrological calculation, but was a great meditator as well. Therefore he was a great devotee and could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same personality as Krishna. He was puzzled, however, about whether Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were actually the same person. Text 113. "I am certain that your form and the form I saw in my meditation are one and the same. If I see any difference, this is an act of your illusory energy." Purport. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. In the vision of a perfect devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha and Krishna. One who sees Lord Chaitanya to be different from Krishna is under the illusory energy of the Lord. It appears that the astrologer was already an advanced devotee, and when he came into the presence of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became perfectly self-realized and could see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are one and the same Supreme Person. Text 114. The all-knowing astrologer concluded, "Whatever you may be, or whatever you may be, or whoever you may be, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you." By his causeless mercy, the Lord then gave him love of Godhead, thus rewarding him for his service. Whoa. Purport. Chaitanya, the incident of Lord Chaitanya's meeting the all-knowing astrologer is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but we cannot therefore say that it did not take place. On the contrary, we must accept the statement of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that whatever the Chaitanya Bhagavat did not mention, he has especially mentioned in the Caitanya-caritämrta. Text 115. One day the Lord sat down in the corridor of the Vishnu temple and began calling out loudly, "Bring some honey! Bring some honey!" Text 116. Nityananda Prabhu Gosai, understanding the ecstatic mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, brought a pot of Ganges water as a token and put it before him. 1617. After drinking the water, Lord Chaitanya became so ecstatic that he began to dance. Thus everyone saw the pastime of attracting the river Yamuna. Purport. Yamuna Karshana Lila is the pastime of attracting the Yamuna. One day, Sri Baladev wanted the Yamuna river to come before him, and when the river Yamuna refused, he took his plow, wanting to dig a canal so that the Yamuna would be obliged to come there. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the original form of Baladev, in his ecstasy, he asked everyone to bring honey. In this way, all the devotees standing there saw the Yamuna Karshana Lila. In this Lila, Baladev was accompanied by his girlfriends. After drinking a honey beverage called Varuni, he wanted to jump into the Yamuna and swim with the girls. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:65, 25-30, and 33 that Lord Baladev asked the Yamuna to come near, and that when the river disobeyed the order of the Lord, he became angry and thus wanted to snatch her near to him with his plow. The Yamuna, however, very much afraid of Lord Balaram's anger, immediately came and surrendered unto him, praying to the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and admitting her fault. She was then excused. This is the sum and substance of the Yamuna Karshana Lila. The incident is also described in the prayer of Jayadev Goswami concerning the 10 incarnations. Vahasi papushi visade vasanam jaladabam halahati bita milita yanumabam keshavadrita haladara rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Text 118. When the Lord in his ecstasy of Baladev was moving as if intoxicated by the beverage, Advaita Acharya, the chief of the Acharyas, Acharya Shekhar, saw him in the form of Balaram. Text 119. Vanamali Acharya saw a golden plough in the hand of Balaram, and the devotees all assembled together and danced, overwhelmed by ecstasy. Text 120. In this way they danced continuously for 12 hours, and in the evening they all took bath in the Ganges and then returned to their homes. Text 121. The Lord ordered all the citizens of Navadvip to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and in each and every home they began performing Sankirtan regularly. Text 122. All the devotees sang this popular song with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Text 123. When the Sankirtan movement thus started, no one in Navadvip could hear any sound other than the words Hari, Hari, and the beating of the mridanga and clashing of handbells. Purport. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness now has its world center in Navadvip, Mayapur. The managers of this center should see that 24 hours a day there is chanting of the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with the addition of Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. For this song was a favorite of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. But all such Sankirtan must be preceded by the chanting of the holy names of the 5 tattvas, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We are already accustomed to chant these 2 mantras, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, after these, the other 2 lines, namely, Hare Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana should be added, especially in Mayapur. Chanting of these 6 lines should go on so perfectly well that no one there hears any vibration other than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. That will make the center spiritually all perfect. And today, anytime you go to the Caitanya-caritämrta Mandir, you will hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, even to this day. Text 124, the all-powerful instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming through Srila Prabhupada. 124. Hearing the resounding vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra, the local Muslims, greatly angry, submitted a complaint to the Qazi. Purport. The Paujadara, or city magistrate, was called the Qazi. The zamindars, or landholders, mandaleras, levied taxes on the land, but keeping law and order and punishing criminals was the duty entrusted to the Qazi. Both the Qazi and the landholders were under the control of the governor of Bengal, which was at that time known as Subha Bangala, which at that time was known as Subha Bangala. Subha Bangala. The districts of Nadia, Islamapur, and Bagoyana were all under the zamindar named Harihoda, or his descendant known as Hoda Krishnadas. It is said that Chand Qazi was the spiritual master of Nawab Hussain Shah. According to one opinion, his name was Maulana Sirajuddina, and according to another, his name was Haribara Rahamana. Descendants of Chand Qazi were still living in the vicinity of Mayapur. People still go to see the tomb of Chand Qazi, which is underneath a champaka tree and is known as Chand Qazi's Samadhi. Text 125. Chand Qazi angrily came to one home in the evening. When he saw kirtan going on, he broke a mridanga and spoke as follows. 126. For so long you did not follow the regulated principles of the Hindu religion, but now you are following them with great enthusiasm. May I know by whose strength you are doing so? Purport. It appears that from the aggression of Bhakhtiyar Khilji in Bengal until the time of Chand Qazi, Hindus, or the followers of the Vedic principles, were greatly suppressed. Like the Hindus in present-day Pakistan, practically no one could execute the Hindu religious principles freely. Chand Qazi referred to this condition of Hindu society. Formerly, the Hindus had not been straightforward in executing their Hindu principles, but now they were freely chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Therefore, it must have been by the strength of someone else that they were so daring. Actually, that was the fact. Although the members of the so-called Hindu society had followed the social customs and formulas, they had practically forgotten to execute their religious principles strictly. But with the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually began following the regulated principles according to his order. That order is still existing, and anywhere and everywhere, in all parts of the world, one can execute it. That order is to become a spiritual master under the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by following the regulated principles, chanting daily at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness all over the world. If we stick to the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we shall get spiritual strength, without a doubt. And we shall be free to preach this cult of Hare Krishna movement and not be hampered by anyone. Text 127. No one should perform Sankirtan in the streets of this city. Today I am excusing the offense and returning home. Purport. Such orders stopping Sankirtan in the streets of the world's great cities have been imposed upon members of the Hare Krishna movement. We have hundreds of centers all over the world, and we have been specifically persecuted in Australia. In most cities of the Western world, we have been arrested many times by the police, but we are nevertheless executing the order of Sri Caitanya Mahäprabhu by chanting on the streets of the all-important cities such as New York, London, Chicago, Sydney, Melbourne, Paris, and Hamburg. We must remember that such incidents took place in the past 500 years ago, and the fact that they are still going on indicates that our Sankirtan movement is really authorized. For if Sankirtan were an insignificant material affair, demons would not object to it. The demons of the time tried to obstruct the Sankirtan movement started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similar demons are trying to obstruct the Sankirtan movement we are executing all over the world, and this proves that our Sankirtan movement is still pure and genuine, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Qazi is continuing to speak. The next time I see someone performing such Sankirtan, I shall certainly chastise him by not only confiscating all his property, but also converting him into a Muslim. Purport. To convert a Hindu into a Muslim was an easy affair in those days. If a Muslim simply sprinkled water on the body of a Hindu, it was supposed that the Hindu had already become a Muslim. How ignorant were the people. My God. During the transition of the British in Bangladesh, during the last Hindu-Muslim riots, many Hindus were converted into Muslims by having cow's flesh forcibly pushed into their mouths. Hindu society was so rigid at the time of Lord Chaitanya that if a Hindu were converted into a Muslim, there was no chance of his being reformed. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. None of the Muslims came from outside. Social customs, somehow or other, forced Hindus to become Muslims with no chance of returning to Hindu society. Emperor Aurangzeb also inaugurated a tax that Hindus had to pay because of their being Hindus. Thus, all the poor Hindus of the lower class voluntarily became Muslims to avoid the tax. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. Chand Kazi threatened to convert the people into Muslims by the simple process of sprinkling water on their bodies. After saying this, the Qazi returned home, and the devotees, greatly shocked that they were forbidden to chant Hare Krishna, submitted their grief to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll stop our reading for the day, and tomorrow we'll get the ecstasy of hearing the Lord's admonishment to the devotees. Hare Krishna. A little after 8, almost an hour we've been going. All right. Time for our magic moment of reflections with our transcendental open mic operated by His Grace Abhay Das Brahmachari, whose voice is soft and sweet like a spring breeze. Sometimes it's so soft, I wonder if you're all hearing him. But apparently it works. Okay, Hare Krishna. Who's up next? Who's first?
First is Katharina Chavez.
Oh, Katerina Chavez. This is Kalindi. Hare Krishna, Kalindi. I saw you in the talk I gave today to your God brothers and God sisters.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your wonderful inspiration this morning for Srila Bhakti Churu Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. I hope it was. I consider myself more or less a dullard. All I can do is read the words of exalted souls, try to remember them, and repeat them. But I'm happy that you were happy, and that the devotees were happy.
And then from Gopakanya Devi Dasi. Gopakanya.
Gopakanya Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna, Gopakanya.
She says, Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. Thank you for coming in Zoom and glorifying Sri Gurudev Bhakti Churu Swami Maharaj.
Well, you're entirely welcome.
Thank you for all wonderful tips and instructions to how to serve Sri Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada in their Vani forms and ISKCON as whole. We all are really blessed to have all exalted uncles, aunties, nephews, and nieces all around us who are helping us to come out of the grief and go further with our devotional service with more conviction and sincerity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful reciprocation, and that attitude we should spread throughout the world. That was what we were just talking about, reading about, how when Lord Chaitanya's movement started. It's still going on. It's a continuation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
She says, it is really amazing and exemplary to see the loving commitment of yours, the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Thank you for divine readings. All glories to your divine voice, which is to be glorified eternally.
Well, I don't have a divine voice. I sound like a raspy old frog. But anyway, the words that I'm reading are the truth, and that makes it sweet. It's always sweet to hear the truth. And a real friend is one who tells the truth, no matter what.
And Kalindi says it was a wonderful contribution.
Wonderful contribution. He eats his words. I teach you how to use your voice. Actually, it's very sweet. Truth be told, it's very sweet. It's no problem. Hare Krishna. So what can I hear that last part again? Because I couldn't quite hear it.
It was a wonderful contribution.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Without the ears, we're just talking out into the ether. So it's your ears that make it wonderful. And your hearts. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. 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 Hare Hare.
And Gopakanya says, Jai Maharaj.
Jai Gopakanya. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, this is the nature of the material world. Everything comes and everything goes. Every single form in the material world comes and goes, no matter who we are. Even our own bodies will come and grow and then dwindle, and then go away. And therefore, we must take the Vani as most important, because the Vani stays. I can't remember the word for word Bhaktivinoda's song, but the essence of it is that he speaks ill of Vaishnavas when he says that Vaishnavas die, for Vaishnavas live to die to live and spread the holy name around. So as long as we are doing this, spreading the holy name around, spreading the holy sounds of these scriptures, then we will live forever in that sound, forever happy, with no impediments. We've been given the greatest gift, and we should live in eternal, exalted gratitude, and never become depressed under any circumstance. Although, as I mentioned today, it's natural to feel bereft when we lose our spiritual master's physical form. It's natural, and the grief is natural, and we have to allow that grief to go on as long as needed until one can again take up the instructions and follow them and live in them. One who lives in the instructions of the spiritual master lives forever with the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Something from Rati Manjari.
Hey Rati, Hare Krishna. Your son back from the hospital?
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. She says they can hear me okay.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Today we heard how in previous times the Brahmanas were learned and would come to visit the houses of the householders and would benedict them with wisdom and knowledge of astrology and health. Would it be appropriate for the Brahmana devotees to get some knowledge of the healing science of, for example, Ayurveda, so we can benefit both ourselves and others?
Of course. Of course. Why not? But one has to be serious to do that. This is not just that you have a good feeling, but you have to learn the science. It's very deep science. You have to have guru, you have to shastra, you have to learn the shastra, you have to learn the arts. There's such a nice, culture that people who were learned in the Ayurveda and expert, they would go around and just give this knowledge for free. Whatever people, now we have this demoniac healthcare system, especially in America, where everybody's got to pay through the nose, and if you don't, you just don't get it. And they make a system that makes it impossible for poor people to have enough money to get it. And therefore, disease is rampant. And it's no accident then that, this pandemic is spreading so fast and so heavily in America, greater than any other place in the world. Because unrestricted sense gratification and using more of the resources of the earth than we actually need is a sin. And all the activities that go along with it to enjoy the senses at the expense of other living beings. We heard tonight about, how during the Hindu-Muslim riots, people were converting the Hindus into Muslims by forcing them to put meat in their mouths. And as soon as that happened, they would become Muslims. And nothing that anybody could do about it. It was a very sad situation. So the result of all of those sinful activities, especially in the developed countries that are taking so much more of the natural resources than others have, and now the karmic retribution is coming. We have to live in harmony with with Krishna's laws, not try to destroy them or dominate them or be the masters of them. It's not possible. One hurricane, boom, finished. One plague, boom, finished. One earthquake, boom, finished. Nothing anybody can do about it. And yet they still try to conquer nature and think that they know everything. So the Brahmanas were different. They were honest and sincere. And also you have to have qualifications to do this. You have to have Brahminical qualifications. You can't just do it on a whim because I want to do it or because it would be nice. You have to have the qualifications. You have to have the brain and the inclination and the ability to remember a lot of knowledge and call it to your tips of your fingers and be able to calculate all the information in your head automatically, as this astrologer showed, to Lord Chaitanya. So yes, it would be nice if devotees could do that, but nowadays there aren't any astrologers like this. Maybe there are a few in India left, but in general, people teach their own selves astrology from a book, or they have their computer that does the calculations for them, and they don't develop. When you do astrology, really, you calculate everything by your brain, and it becomes strong, by doing that, doing the calculations on your own. Now all the world is becoming dependent on machines to do what their brains and bodies are normally, meant to do. Not that we reject it, we take advantage of it. We've lost the capacity of memory and the kinds of intellectual prowess that allows us to do that kind of science. It's a material science, but it's close to spiritual science. But notice that this astrologer was not just an astrologer, he was also an advanced devotee who could see through his meditation, and he was a mystic astrologer. So yes, it's a nice idea, but it's not so difficult, it's not so easy to do, because one has to dedicate a whole lifetime to do it. It's not that you take it up as a hobby or as an occupation just because it would suit you. It has to be real. You have to have the real qualifications to do it. But this Hare Krishna mantra is for everyone, and we can be the supreme spiritual physicians, teachers and physicians of the soul, just by learning the Bhagavad Gita and teaching it to others without qualification, except for the mercy of devotees like Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya's sincere followers of Prabhupada. That we can do. That we're sanctioned to do. Maybe in a few generations, if devotees who are inclined to actually become qualified do that, that would be very good for society. But it's not a small thing, it's a big thing. Hare Krishna.
Rati comments, she says, actually to me the sound of your voice has always sounded very fresh and uplifting. I think I was able to recognize your value for me by the effect of your voice on my consciousness.
Krishna. Well, thank you. That was a big compliment and a big mercy. It's my life and soul.
And a comment from Naresh Yadav.
Naresh
Yadav.
Naresh Yadav.
Says, Hare Krishna, Dandavat, Pranam Maharaj. I came to know by Zoom class about this class. So wonderful. I was looking for this audible classes with purports for a very long time. Thank you very much for this service for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, Haribol. And don't forget, on the YouTube, all of them are archived and easily accessible. They're organized in a way you can easily find them, so you can listen to them anytime. But what you're saying to me is giving me great pleasure in my heart, because this is my vow that I made to Srila Prabhupada in order to increase his presence, the presence of his Vani throughout the world. So I'm also in the process of making audiobooks. Hopefully, if I live long enough and have a long enough longevity and health, and my voice stays, I'll be able to complete that vow. So please bless me so that I can complete that vow. I give prayers to all the great acharyas every morning that I can do this. We just now are assembling a studio here, and we're going to begin as soon as possible. Take it up again. Caitanya-caritämrta is mostly recorded. There's some dub-ins to do, and Rasika Shiromani, my dear disciple Rasika Shiromani, is working very diligently editing the sound. It takes a long time to edit the sound properly. So he's become an expert sound engineer. And he's going to send me the 17th chapter of the Ädi-lilä pretty soon. And he still has about half of the chapters left to edit. Our goal is to actually, release this audiobook at Gaur Purnima next year. By the grace of the Vaishnavas.
And this is from Vilasini Devi Dasi in New Vrindavan.
Vilasini Devi Dasi from New Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
She says, Maharaj, thank you for your service in this way, helping us to engage our sense of hearing and listening to this transcendental knowledge. This is my second day on a road listening to you, and I'm glad I did.
Well, thank you very much. You made my day. You made my day. Thank you so much.
And Rati Manjari comments that her son is out of the hospital.
Good. So he's doing well. How did you get him up the stairs?
She also wrote, thank you for caring.
How did you get him up the stairs? She's on the 3rd floor. His son comes from the hospital with a knee operation. I'm wondering how she got him up the stairs. Powerful devotee, Rati Manjari. Powerful mother.
She also says, how wonderful and auspicious that you are setting up your studio over there.
Oh, you didn't know about that? It's becoming a more and more open secret. Hare Krishna.
Slowly and carefully he came up the stairs with crutches.
Oh.
He is very brave.
Very brave, very strong. Very good. Very good. I've got these hip problems. I can't go up and down and walk very well. Anyway, it's scheduled now for 30th September. Let's see. Let's hope it goes forward. It's not a happy time to have disability, but the thing is, I'm still happy, and everybody can see it because I'm reading these books every day out loud, chanting 32 rounds every day, and trying to help the reputation of Prabhupada's books and preach the glories of Prabhupada's books in any way I can. So you are all giving me unlimited enthusiasm. It's all your credit. Hare Krishna.
Rati says, I sent you some private messages that contain the details of our life.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Somebody sent me a donation and I don't know who it was and they're not revealing it. But the word Van or something. I'm thinking maybe it was Dayal Nitai and Radhananda, I'm not sure. But it had kind of like a Dutch ring to it. I couldn't tell by what's on the, in the online banking. But anyway, whoever gave the donation, please let me know so that I can know and respond to you in gratitude.
Sudevi Dasi says, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Sudevi Dasi.
You make us so happy and we make you happy. It's perfect.
That's it. That's what love's all about, isn't it? Isn't it?
Rati says, you are our wonderful example.
Hare Krishna. Okay, before you get carried away, I'm going to stop now. This is 25 after 8. I've been talking for 3, 5, 7 hours today without stopping. So now I got to give it a rest. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful reciprocation. Everyone needs reciprocation. Everyone needs encouragement. And I'm praying that I'm giving you encouragement by reading with love and devotion Srila Prabhupada's sound vibration into your ears. Hare Krishna. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Thank you very much, and I'll see you the same time, same place, same station, like lines in the stone, to melt our stone-like hearts. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.